Good morning to you all. I'm Bernie Bro, and I want to talk about the weaponization of identity politics from the left and from the right. And this shit is a two-way thing, two-way street. I mean, as a human being, not even somebody on the left per se, just as human being, I support racial equality because we're all equal, no matter what color you are, race, ethnicity, what have you. We're all equal. I support gender equality. It's a no-brainer. I mean, if a woman could do, if they should get the same pay and the same opportunity in society, it's just the right thing to do. LGBTQ equality, again, another no-brainer. People have a right to live their lives as they want. Religious equality, whether you're Christian, Jewish, Muslim, atheist, or whatever religious or affiliation you are, or if you want to not be religious. Our First Amendment guarantees us religious freedom. That is freedom of religion, and it also means freedom from religion if you don't want to be bothered by it. Again, certain things are just no brainers, and when it comes to identity politics, now, speaking in the mind frame of a leftist, I've always been a little squeamish of it because it can be weaponized and use a woman and maybe even a woman of color as his running mate. Fine and dandy. I would just say choose the best person, and if that person is a woman of color, fine. I wouldn't choose Stacey Abrams because she's too centrist. Kamala Harris is too centrist. But there is a female of color that Joe Biden could choose, not because she's a female of color, because she's extremely qualified to be VP. And it would be the candidate that I would like to see Bernie, if by some miracle gets the nomination, Bernie Sanders, choose as his running mate. And that would be Tulsi Gabbard. And she's a woman of color. She's the first Hindu elected to Congress. She's the first veteran, the first military personnel, female military person to run for president. And she's, from my perspective, she's an actual progressive. In spite of what people say about her, yeah, some people think she's a secret right winger. I'm just not convinced of that. And again, I don't like the smears that takes place against Tulsi Gabbard. It's very tiresome, and it's shitty what the Democratic Party apparatus have done to her, silencing her voice in the debate. DNC, you're so you're just so morally flawed right now. Now, when it comes to things like um, accusations, victimization, or what have you, and I hear white conservatives talk about, oh yeah, the minorities are always complaining about this and that, and they're always saying, how minorities are always being a victim, and they're just tired of it, tired of it, tired of it. But when it comes to white Christian straight people, a lot of them on the right tend to be the biggest crybabies of them all. There they go again, persecuting us Christian and conservatives. And in a lot of cases, they're not being persecuted, and in the rare cases that they are, well, shame on whoever is doing it to them. But here's the thing: um, those who claim they are oppressed, who are the least oppressed around, and and that's yeah, the political correctness is a two-way street too, folks. It exists on the right. Um, you can't have an honest conversation about either the subject of Israel versus Palestine on the one hand, or the war on terror, what it means domestically with regard to Muslims in the Western world. You can't have a rational discussion. If you go and say just one teeny teeny little criticism of Israel, you are denounced as an anti-Semite. You are denounced as a Jew hater and a terrorist lover and what have you. Little pencil neck geeks like Ben Shapiro. It's a whiny little bitch about that. He goes around he's saying, "Oh, why do these people always, the people of color and I always complain about racism, racism, racism." But as soon as Congresswoman Ilhan Omar says something about Israel that was actually blown out of proportion by the mainstream press, um, and you can't have rational conversations about Muslims either. And the right wing people who want to just round up all them Muslims and kick them out of the country and don't let any of them come. Cheney policy, endless wars in the Middle East and all that. Maybe some of those people you do not want to come over here will not have any reason to come over here. Now, in regard to whenever terrorism takes place in the West, I do have a little bit of criticism for the liberals too, and in the West, because as soon as that happens, yeah, the right wingers are nuts for just drawing the wrong conclusion all the time. Well, it must be one of them Muslims. It was Muslims that did it. It was Muslims that did it. You'll just hear them bitch about that nonstop. But the liberals are no better, because if somebody who happened to be Muslim that commit that acts of terrorism, and for the record, here in the United States, white nationalism, white supremacy, and especially when they're militant, they're going militant and underground about it, that's a bigger threat to the United States than the Middle Eastern situation here in the United States. But at the same time, whenever somebody who happens to be a radicalized person of the Islamic faith commits an act of terrorism, the liberals would go around being like, "Oh no, 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 no! Don't dare say that! No Muslim will ever commit an act of evil. It's a religion of peace." That sounds as irrational as, "Yeah, man, those redheads need to be sent right back to where they came from. Maybe we need to drop a nuclear bomb on those Muslim countries." That's how the right wing sound, and then the liberals sounding like little wimps are just as stupid. So nobody wants to have a rational conversation. And then the right wingers, when they get angry that somebody criticizes them for criticizing Muslims, "Well, what are you trying to do? You're trying to silence us? You SJWs are always trying to silence us conservatives." But at the same time, when boycott, divestment, sanctions against Israel takes place, these same people who claim to be free speech warriors, they're going around saying, "Israel. So maybe we need to go and take these left-wing troublemakers and put them behind bars for 20 years and smear them." And I'm an honest person, and I don't like political correctness, whichever side or whatever form it comes into. Anyway, feel free to comment, good, bad, or indifferent. I am Bernie Bro. Peace and for a nonviolent revolution.